Super.
All right, and welcome back, everyone. I'm Jennifer Britton, author of Reconnecting Workspaces. So excited today to have Kimberly Sauceda with me. And Kimberly is the CEO of Sauceda Coaching. So great to have you here, Kimberly. I'm actually going to just switch our view, might switch on the recording as well. I want to say hi. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
Well, I really enjoy our conversations. I think those listening in today are going to enjoy our conversation as well. And Kimberly is one of the amazing Reconnecting Workspaces certified coaches. You were in the first cohort. It was great to have you. You're doing amazing work in the world. So let's meet you first. Tell us a little bit about your work, who you serve, and what you're excited about right in this moment in time.
Super. So after 20 or roughly 2 decades of being in tech and having marketing leadership positions everywhere from Apple to Logitech, I have moved over so that I now support leaders and executives to move from their overwhelm to unstoppable. And after 2020, and even now we're August into 2021, there is still so much overwhelm that's happening out there. So really work with people to elevate their impact, and, reconnecting workspaces is such a critical moment. I was just reading another article about the Great Resignation and how many people, they're just not feeling connected, like they understand how their goals actually impact what they're doing. And so I connect with a bunch of people that are in leadership positions and organizations, whether that is something through their organization or just from themselves, and really help them to elevate their impact.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you're doing such great work, and you've already sort of foreshadowed, but what do you love about Reconnecting Workspaces as a resource for the people you serve?
Yeah, so I first go in with any organization and understand where they are with different things. So I talk to them and help them partner, see what it is that they need. And I look at it as like you're building a house, right? And so the first foundation is the piece that you've talked about, which is, that kind of beautiful triad of trust and safety and connection. So how are they doing? And to me, super interesting because okay, as a leader, as a team, and as an organization, you can focus on any of those. And if you don't have that kind of foundation, it's really hard to build anything else. And so then I look at these 4 different pillars. The first one is all about culture. What do you want that culture to look like? What do you want, for things to be? And we're actually, I think, Jen, at this beautiful moment where it's almost like the cards have been reshuffled and you can say, hey, how do I want culture to be like? Then looking at roadmap, goals, visions, conflict/communication. Yeah, big one, right?
A huge one right now.
Yeah.
If anything, it's just gotten bigger, in terms of conflict.
Yes. Yeah. And then that 4th pillar is really the structures that you have. So how are you really supporting that team that you have or the organization? How do you want to meet? How do you really make sure that people are staying close?
Totally.
Is there a way you can meet in person that's safe or not? If not, again, how do you make sure that you've got that solid foundation with that connection, safety, and trust? So it's really understanding all of that and then weaving in what's right for the business, right? So do we do team coaching? Do we do leadership programs? Do we do, is there onboarding, or as we've been talking about, reboarding that needs to happen, or executive coaching? Any of those are super important and helpful right now.
Well, I'm so glad you've widened the lens, right? Because I think a lot of readers are like, is this just a resource for groups? Is this a resource for teams? Is it for leaders? But as you're saying, it really is a resource that can serve so many different purposes: leaders, team members, new team members, those that are, moving maybe remote to hybrid or back to remote, there's a lot of things happening right now in the world. So
yes. Yeah. And with attrition, this is such a key thing. How do you really make sure that those key performers that you have that you're really keeping them. And I think the key to a lot of it is the stuff that we're talking about with the reconnecting workspaces and, like goals. How do you make sure that they're feeling really connected? How do you make sure that people really understand what it is that they're doing and the impact that they have?
Yeah. So you've painted a pretty compelling business case for leaders and team members. For coaches, why should coaches really look at getting training like this right now?
Oh, again, I just believe this is a critical moment. Again, so many people are leaving the workforce, and I feel like it's because they don't understand the impact that they need to make, and that they just don't feel like I'm being heard, right? There's this stat about getting actionable feedback. As coaches, we can really help the leaders and organizations and teams understand the things that they need to do. We can really support and partner with them to make sure that they understand, hey, here's how you can support those leaders or those teams. And the beautiful thing about this training is it gives you really actionable pieces and helps you almost like you can then go, okay, this is where we need to talk. Okay, good. You can go right here. And there are myths and principles and team tools, right? It opened up my team tool belt exponentially, if you will.
I love it. And I can see your activation, right? Like I saw that throughout our training, and just hearing what you're up to these days. It's so exciting for me as the author and as a coach trainer to hear, this is like the ripple effect that I always talk about. So where do we jump to next? I want to go into the myths, but do you think we should talk about something else? Should we talk about the myths and maybe bring out a special buddy of yours?
Yes. So
over to you, Kimberly. I don't
okay. We'll talk a myth, and then we'll also tie it into one of the pillars. How about that? We'll do like a 2-for-1.
So let's set this up for people who might not be familiar, but in Reconnecting Workspaces, 21 chapters, 20 of them, the first 20 have a remote working myth, a principle, and as Kimberly said, a team tool. So over to you, set this up. I think our listeners, our viewers are going to be like, what? So who did you bring today?
So this is Frank. And for anybody that is kind of in my demographic, you might remember these kind of toys. And when they're like this, they're standing up, they're great, right? This is how you want all, leaders and all of your team to be, right? Feeling super connected and like everything's going well. However, there's sometimes different triggers that happen, and it causes you to go like this, right? And sometimes that happens with conflict and communication, which is one of my main pillars that I think is so crucial for teams. So one of the myths, right, is that everyone communicates the same way, the same style. It's actually not true. And the principle that you talk about is really that it's all about the conversation, and you need to pay attention to that. And by paying attention to how different people communicate, by really having these open conversations, understanding their work styles, you can help your team come back to this, right? Have Frank be standing up, or Sue, or whomever it is, standing up the right way so they're not triggered. And I think it's just, okay, so the house I was talking about, there's a roof on that house with the pillars, and it's intentionality. And it is so, so key. You have to really be intentional about everything that you're doing. And with conflict and communication, so many people think, oh, conflict is horrible, and they start backing away. If you understand those communication styles, conflict doesn't have to be a bad thing.
So brilliant. And it's so interesting you raise intentionality as your roof on your home, right? This is something that Inga and I were talking recently, one of the other certified coaches, and she mentioned the most important thing in her work is intentionality. Earlier today, kicked off the 5-day challenge for Reconnecting Workspaces. Intentionality was part of our focus. And so again, I think it's such a straightforward thing when we talk about it. Oh yeah, intentionality. But we don't necessarily think about it in this remote space, but it really is the magic. For you, it's the roof of the house. For me, it would be the glue of the conversation. So I think it's raising us, right? And just that visual of seeing Frank, or as we could say, could be Suji, Sue, whoever,
Clever.
Holding down and then coming back up. So
Yes.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah.
So what's different about you now and what you are able to offer as a coach than, a couple of months ago before you started this training?
Yeah. So I hadn't really understood some of the kind of nuances with hybrid and the different things that you need to do and the different ways that that you can look at things. For example, with trust and the trust tool that we have. I really one of my favorite, I can't go without having a good metaphor. So I've got another one for you. I really believe every day people are building a bridge, right? And if you're being, again, intentional about it, that bridge that you have, you're always doing stuff that is going to reinforce the bridge. And any bridge, if you're not intentionally doing stuff to build it up, to reinforce it, it's atrophying. And a friend of mine yesterday said, well, it takes two people to build that bridge, right? Because if I'm just building it, it's just a lovely lookout, right? It is actually not a bridge. And so when you look at like the trust tool, that is a great way to make sure that you're consistently building that bridge. So the trust tool is just a great example of one of the many things that I now have and can offer people with the reconnecting workspaces. And again, to me, it goes back to this whole thing of intentionality. And to your point, you knew it was important. You should think about how critical it is. And I think too, that people are so busy right now, right? It's something like in 2020 and 2021, we added 45 minutes of meetings to the regular work week. People don't feel like they have the time to be intentional, but it's like, you kind of have to say, whoa, take that time. I think that's another big learning that I have out of all of this too.
Yeah, well, it's that pause, right? It's
Yes.
other authors would say you have to slow down in order to speed up, but
That's right.
we've been talking about is you really have to pause to really make sure that you know where you're going next so that you can run faster, and intentionality is a key piece of that.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. So anything else that you think would be useful for us to touch on? I've so been enjoying our conversation this afternoon, but what else do you think people should know about either your work or, where you're taking this work with reconnecting workspaces?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the key is that you can fold this into so many different places, right? So this could be, hey, let's have a big conversation for the entire company and let's do either, some speaking. I do speaking. Maybe this is like, hey, for a team, we want to do several team coaching, or this is a workshop, right? What I love about reconnecting workspaces is it really can almost be accordioned, right? It can fit any of the different needs that you have. And I think that is a really good thing. And kudos to you for doing such an incredible book. And can we give a shout out to something that's coming?
Absolutely. What would you like to shout out?
There's something that's coming for you.
Sure, you can, Kimberly, anytime.
I mean, it'll tie in really nicely to the workbook that you have coming soon as well. So Jen has a fabulous tie-in to another like 90-day workbook. And so I love how adaptable this is. And I think that so many organizations and leaders and teams can really benefit from all of this. There's so much that is going on in the world, and really like helping your team be so connected, helping your team feel really motivated again. So many leaders that I'm talking to in organizations feel a bit lost, right? There's been this kind of whiplash in the States, and probably in Canada too, with like, we're going back, we're not, we're going back, we're not. So it's almost like, okay, what do I do? How do I really help here? And this offers incredible ways that we can do that. And I just love to partner with people on that because, again, just so much good stuff that is in here.
I appreciate that, right? It's the Reconnecting Workspaces book. And as you shared, it's the 90-day guide to success, pathways to thrive in the virtual, remote, and hybrid world. And I think that workbook is actually going to be is sort of the key that unlocks things for a lot of folks, right? Because it's written in a daily guide, and we know that change takes time. It's not something we do in one fell swoop, right? It's the consistent focus, it's the ongoing action and the learning as we go. So I'm really excited. I haven't shared this with all of you, but got to hold the first interior of the book yesterday. So we're recording this on August 17th. It will be out and available no later than end of September. So perfect timing as people are getting ready to go back. And that'll be a workbook planner that people can, purchase for their staff, for their individuals. I think it's going to be a great resource for like fall and end of year. And then for people like you as Reconnecting Workspaces certified coaches, you're going to be on the front lines of just taking this resource out, which I think is going to sell like hotcakes. So in service to people, we need it in bite-sized pieces. So.
Yeah. And tying that into executive coaching or team coaching, it'll be better than a 1+1, right? This is an exponential piece here.
Totally. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much. Again, where can people find you and more about your work? Because again, I love the fact that you've worked in the tech world for many, many years. You've worked in marketing, you're a coach, you've worked in learning. Where can people find you?
So people can go to my website, which is www.saucedacoaching.com. And Sauceda is SAUCEDA. So saucedacoaching.com.
Fantastic. Well, look up Kimberly's work, especially can we say where you are? Is that okay to share the geographic location?
Yeah, I'm in San Jose. I'm in the Bay Area. And I've worked with people from all over the world. So happy to work with people in any kind of geography.
Well, that's what I love too about our, growing community of certified coaches. We're all over the place. When we go back to hybrid or when we go back to face-to-face, it's like, I don't have to fly because we've got you on the ground. Yes. And that's the power of community. So thank you, Kimberly, for taking time with us today. Any final closing thoughts or comments you want to make before we wrap it up?
I've just really enjoyed our conversation today, and I'm looking forward to more and more people, rolling out reconnecting workspaces in their organizations. I think it's just so powerful.
The wave is coming, right?
Exactly.
So with that, thanks for your time. And thanks, everyone. I'll be back with another Reconnecting Workspaces certified coach interview, sort of sit down. It's not really an interview. I think it's more like a sit down, let's have a conversation, coming up. So if you haven't found these, check out reconnectingworkspaces.com, or you'll find them on my YouTube channel. You can look up my name, Jennifer J. Britton, or Effective Group Coach. And with that, have a good one. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And thanks for your time as well today, Kimberly.
Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.